Hi there. This is Cole at Buried Giant Games, and we have been getting all kinds of exciting mail over the past few days, including some prototypes for the Oath storage box. So these aren't final. Everything I'm about to show you is still in process, but we're getting very, very close. And before we closed the late pledges, we wanted to make sure that you all saw how the Oath storage box worked. So what I've done here is I've taken the Oath storage box and packed it with our working final prototype. This is a fully sleeved copy of Oath. It's actually even thicker than a regular sleeved copy. And I'm going to take you through how it all gets pulled out of the box, and then we'll talk a little bit about the design, and then we'll pack it back up together. Open this up. This box is the same size as a Blighted Reach box, which is to say it's Oath but thicker. We'll set that over there. And then right here on top, you'll recognize that we have the mat stored here at the back, just like a regular Oath box. And then there's about maybe a centimeter or so of space here at the top. And that is space for your Chronicle books, any other notebooks you might have, as well as the rule books for the game. So they've got plenty of room to fit up here. This box is designed to be sat flat. You could put it on its side, and it should do just fine. But I wouldn't go, storing it upside down or storing it on its foot. This plastic tray right here will not come with the storage box. There'll probably be just some batting or a piece of foam here. The plastic trays for the solo materials are in the solo box, and you can either keep them in the solo box, or if you have the storage box, you can move them into the storage box, and they are designed to fit. Then the basic design, we'll take out the map too so you can kind of see it, is a design that has these 4 columns. Now, when we were working on this box, we had initially planned on doing a vacuum tray, a plastic tray. But the more we worked on it, the more we realized that there were some kind of core disadvantages to using a vacuum tray for this kind of box design. The biggest one is that vacuum trays have to be narrower at the bottom of each bay than at the top. So they're always a little sloped. And because we mostly need this box to organize rectangular areas, it actually makes more sense to go with a printed tray, a paper tray like this. The tray is quite sturdy though, as we'll see. So let's talk through all the chambers. We're going to start on the left. Pretty simple tray really. It's got 4 columns like this, and each column is storing a different part of the game. And I'm going to take elements out of the box to really show you how it works. So on the far left here, we have this block of player boards. You'll note that these new player boards that come in new foundations are a little bit thinner than the player boards in the base game. And they make a very nice kind of lid for these player boxes. And I'll take out the blue box here, and then if you look inside the boxes, there is space in them for any cards, lineage, or starting advisors that might have been carried over from one game to another. And then within that box, we have these new warband trays, which are designed to go beneath the player board and will help you calculate your supply without having to count warbands over and over again. This isn't quite the final design. We're still finalizing some little elements, but it'll be about this same shape and have the same function. These player boxes here will be a little bit thicker in the actual thing, in the actual production. These player boxes we built and cut basically by hand and on an office printer. The real ones will be glossy. They'll have a really good finish that will be very protective. They'll also be a little bit thicker, so they'll be closer to the World Box and Base Oath, or just a tiny bit thicker. And then their construction is a little more sophisticated, so they'll hold together well. So then that gives us this channel here. And then at the bottom of this channel, there's space. Currently, I just have the vision cards sitting here, but this is a special space where you can stack your world deck, so it has its own organizational spot. One thing I want to mention, I was originally a little resistant to using a paper tray because sometimes with paper trays, it's really hard to properly anchor walls. But what we've done here is we have these little anchors, and these are all going to come pre-assembled, but you can see this little piece right here. It's got these little wings on it, and it's designed to really hold quite firm in there. So this is going to be about as strong as anything that we could do with plastic. I'm not going to bother to put it in. Well, we'll see. It's hard to put this in blind. Oh, I see, I messed up. Just want people to see how strong it is. Sometimes when you're working with paper trays, those kinds of dividers can float. They can break really easily. These are really tough. They're going to anchor. They'll be really, really resistant. Let's go. We're going to move from left to right here. So here you'll notice that there's a block of relics right here. And we actually, when we were packing up this box, we included a bunch of extras in case we want to do relics in the future. So this will probably hold, I don't know, maybe up to 100 relics in this area. And the mat, the rolled mat, is sitting right on top of those relics, and it won't damage the cards or cause any trouble there. And then behind the relics, we have a stack of cards, and these are the lineage cards, the legacies, and then also the setup cards, which also have the foundations on the other side. All of that goes in this kind of center chamber. And the thing about these is, like, when you're not in the game, you can just put them back in the box. They're not going to cause any trouble being there. Okay, now we get to this guy. This is the upgraded Atlas box. So in the base game, not the base game, in New Foundations, there's going to be a cardstock Atlas box. It's a nice design. It'll have the same art. In this, with the storage box, we had room in the budget to do something a little bit nicer. So we have a magnetic sealing box that looks like this. It's got a little window here at the back too, so it's very easy to pick cards up from the back. In the front, you're not going to have any trouble if you're choosing to revisit recent sites to know which sites you're going to get. And we kept a very low slope here because sometimes when you're pulling sites, you have to pull sites that include things like relics. They'll come out very easily with this design. And this design will easily fit all 24 sites, even if they are filled with relics and filled with denizens. So this is all going to be, there's lots of space. And it's okay for this to be a little loose because it's got that nice kind of locking lid. All right, let's talk about this kind of middle right chamber. So in this chamber, there's a lot of extra space by design. So your tarot cards, the player aids, your chronicle cards, they can sit right on top without any trouble. The punch board, like our Oathkeeper tokens and the goals, they're all just going to sit right here, and our banners sitting there without any trouble. These two boxes are a sub-in for roughly the size of the Chancellor box that's going to hold the Chancellor meeples and the reliquary. I don't have the sample from the factory yet, but these are basically the same size. The Chancellor board the Chancellor box will also have its own warband board that will fit inside this box. And then beneath that, we have our two plastic trays. Now, I'm just using the plastic trays from the base game right here. The box will come with two new plastic trays that are very similar dimensions, but a little bit thinner, so they fit in very smoothly. This is plenty of space to hold everything that you're going to get. So you can fit all of the secrets and favor in one well. The ×3 secrets are in there as well. And then in the other one, there's lots of room for the extra dice, the warbands, all that stuff can easily fit in here. In fact, we've got extra dice just to make sure the pack is really tight. If you got deluxe components too, which if you're a Kickstarter backer you did, you'll have a full set of 10 blue dice and 16 warband dice, I think. And so this is obviously more dice than that. So there's lots of space. Then let's talk about the rightmost well. So this is holding the entire archive and the dispossessed. So because we have these floating dividers, these archive divisions will shrink over mini games. The dispossessed will get larger. When you do a heal step, it'll start to reset. And this is plenty of space. So again, these playtesting cards, some of them have one or even two pieces of paper in them if they have their backs. And even then, there's easily room for like another 60 cards. And then up here at the front, we have a set of the edifices. So the edifices are all kind of sitting out here, mostly edifices. So you can see them all there. They're double-sided. And the edifices get used at the end of each game, and so we wanted to have a kind of special location where they could go. Now, we are still working on some of the small elements. So, for example, we may have finishing caps that are on these components. And one of the big advantages of a paper tray is that we can illustrate it. And so Kyle is right now working on some custom illustrations that are going to adorn this tray. We'll also have labels to tell players where all the things go. And there are a couple different ways the tray can be used, but we really think that the way that we've presented it here is by far the best way to use it. Okay, so with that in mind, I'm going to pack the game back up. You're rarely going to see a totally empty tray, and it's designed to be packed up like pretty quickly. So I'm just going to start loading stuff back in. So first we'll start with the archive. We'll get all those cards in there. There we go. Now, I don't have all of the dividers. New Foundations comes with a bunch of dividers that are not in this prototype. And those dividers are to help you sort between the lineages and the setup cards and the edifices. And you may decide that You can just put the edifices here. You don't need to give them their own divider. You might decide that you want to give them the divider. And we actually also provide the dividers in New Foundations in both orientations. So if you have a different way of organizing this box or of organizing your Oath box that involves tipping all the dividers to its side and more efficiently storing the cards, we have dividers that will accommodate that without any trouble. Now, one thing I should mention about this whole organizer is if you just have base Oath, you can pack everything in that box. That's another video though, and there's a bunch of different ways to do it. Most of the times when I've done it, I'm producing about 1 centimeter or maybe 2 of box lift. If you don't mind that, then you probably don't need a deluxe solution. That said, having used this box for 50 or 60 playtests, this is my preferred way to store the game. So these heavy components, the dice, the coins, things like that, they're going to go in the center chamber, just like this. And then on top of them, we have the Chancellor box. We've got the banners are going here. These little side pieces go there. You can put the tarot cards in that spot. The legacy cards and the setup cards go in this well. The relics are going to go in this well. Now, one of the things I'll say now that I'm stacking all these cards in, we know that not everybody sleeves their games. In fact, I probably won't sleeve my copy. We will have some foam blocks that players can put in different places to accommodate for the fact that they don't have sleeved cards. And then if we ever end up doing more cards for Oath, you'll have a easy thing to remove to replace with the new cards. Here's the Atlas box. Again, goes in here. And then we have all of the player boxes, which I will put in this chamber. One of our biggest goals with this box was that we wanted to make sure it felt easy to use. Sometimes we find storage solutions that aren't very space efficient and actually are harder to use than just using the paper tray a game might come with. This was a box that, like the Blighted Reach box, we played with a ton. And there are many lessons that we learned when we were working on the Blighted Reach box that we were able to directly put into this. Here's the mat. Now, one thing about this mat is I haven't even rolled it up very tight. If I wanted to save further space, I could roll it up even tighter. It goes right there. And then the solo tray is built to go right there. Perfect. And there is still empty space. There's a little bit of space above the cards. There's a little bit of space right here. And then there is that additional layer for rulebooks. And then at the end, put the box in there. And it closes nice and tight.